What if a simple delivery mission turned into a fight for survival? An ancient alien law forced a man to claim a household he never wanted, and a mysterious artifact bound 7 strangers into one destiny. In a world where tradition is law and choice is a rebellion, one human will defy an empire, not with power but with loyalty, love, and the courage to rewrite the rules. This isn't just a sci-fi story, it's the beginning of a new kind of family, and it all starts with a duel beneath the twin moons. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move toward this wonderful story. Rowan Holt had only planned to stay on Thalicia for one night. Just a quick stop, refuel the ship, grab a bite that wasn't freeze-dried, maybe trade a story or two at the bar. Nothing more. But as he stood in the open plaza under the planet's twin moons, sword in hand and a crowd of tall, blue-skinned aliens watching in silence, he was starting to regret making conversation at all. It had begun harmlessly enough. Rowan, ever curious and perhaps too friendly for his own good, had commented on the shimmering drink in a crystal goblet carried by a woman walking past. "That looks like starlight in a cup," he'd said, flashing one of his classic half-smiles. He didn't expect a reaction, maybe a polite nod. Definitely not a full-blown trial by combat. The woman, regal and stunning in a gown that sparkled, like the night sky, had stopped in her tracks. Her name was Lady Sarava, and as it turned out, she wasn't just anyone. She was a noble of the Nareen people, and Rowan had just broken a sacred custom by addressing her directly without invitation. That mistake hadn't gone unnoticed. "By the law of sky and stone," bellowed a deep voice moments later. "The challenge is issued." That was when Valor stepped forward, an armored tower of muscle and fury, his blade gleaming with ceremonial runes. He stood nearly 2 feet taller than Rowan and looked like he could snap a metal beam with his bare hands. Rowan had blinked. Wait, what challenge? I just liked her drink. No one cared. Nareen law was ancient and merciless. To speak to a noble without permission was to dishonor them. And the only way to resolve such dishonor was trial by combat, between the offender and the noble's chosen champion. Declining the challenge meant immediate execution. So here Rowan stood, beneath the twin moons of a planet he barely knew, facing a warrior who probably bench-pressed livestock for fun. The crowd circled them. Torches were lit. Drums began to beat, slow and heavy, echoing through the plaza like the pulse of the planet itself. Sarava stood at the edge of the circle, expression unreadable. Behind her were 5 women dressed in matching dark robes, her handmaidens. Each of them stared at Rowan with a mix of curiosity and concern. He was just a man from Earth, a trader, a pilot, not a warrior. Yet he'd strapped on his belt, taken up the only sword he had, a worn standard Earthfleet issue, and nodded. "Fine," he muttered under his breath. "Let's get this over with." Valor didn't wait. The moment the horn sounded, he charged like a beast unleashed. His blade sliced through the air with terrifying force. Rowan dodged just in time, his boots skidding on the smooth plaza stones slick from earlier rain. He parried the next strike, barely, and the force of it rattled his bones. For the next several minutes, the 2 men circled and clashed, the sounds of metal against metal echoing under the stars. Rowan relied on speed and experience. His moves weren't graceful, but they were smart. Earthfleet combat training had taught him to survive, especially against enemies stronger than himself. Valor, for all his brute power, was predictable. Every swing was heavy and aggressive, leaving small openings. Rowan kept moving, dodging, waiting for a mistake. As sweat beaded on his brow, he glanced again toward Sarava. She wasn't laughing now. She wasn't even smirking. She looked worried. Then Valor overreached. Rowan saw it. The moment his opponent's footing slipped just slightly during a downward swing. Instinct took over. Rowan rolled inside the swing, rose swiftly, and drove his blade upward with everything he had. The sound of slicing armor split the night. Valor froze. His eyes widened. Then his massive body dropped to its knees before collapsing, forward, his sword clattering beside him. Silence fell over the plaza. Only the drums remained, pounding once more before stopping. Rowan stood there, chest heaving, blade stained, hands shaking slightly from the effort. He had won. Somehow. Lady Sarava stepped forward, the crowd parting for her. She said nothing for a moment, only looked at the fallen champion, then at Rowan. Finally she spoke. "By the ancient codes," she said, voice calm but steady, "you have defeated my protector in honorable combat." Rowan lowered his sword. "I didn't want this fight. I didn't mean disrespect. I just liked your drink." Her expression shifted. Something softened in her eyes. "Intent does not matter, under law," she said. Then with a quiet grace she knelt before him. Behind her the 5 handmaidens followed suit. "You are now master of this household. By the right of victory we belong to you." Rowan blinked. "Wait, what?" An older Nareen man stepped forward from the shadows, his robes heavy with embroidered symbols. "It is done. To refuse is to dishonor the victory. The bond is sealed." Rowan looked around at the kneeling women. "I don't want anyone to belong to me." "Then you will need to find a way to change an empire," the elder replied, "before it changes you." Rowan stared up at the twin. Moon sighed deeply and muttered, "I was just trying to deliver some fuel cells." And just like that, his life was no longer his own. Rowan Holt had always believed that space travel came with strange surprises, meteor storms, lost cargo, weird station food. But waking up as the legal master of an alien noblewoman and her 5 attendants, that hadn't made the list. The morning after the duel felt like something out of a dream, or a bad sitcom. He'd spent the night in a guest room of Sarava's estate, a towering structure made of dark blue stone and metal that shimmered under Thalicia's bright sun. He hadn't slept well. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Valor's fall, the stunned crowd and the 6 women kneeling in the rain, bound to him by an ancient law he neither understood nor agreed with. A soft knock came at the door. "Enter," he said reluctantly. Tyra stepped inside, tall, serious, with close-cropped hair and eyes like polished glass. She bowed politely. "Lady Sarava requests your presence in the sun chamber." Rowan sat up slowly. "Are we still doing this whole master and servant thing?" Tyra tilted her head slightly. "You are now head of the household. That is the tradition." "Yeah," Rowan muttered. "Tradition is a real pain sometimes." As he followed her through the hallways, the rest of the household came into view. Mev was tending to plants that seemed to float mid-air. Lyra and Somi were arranging cushions in perfect symmetry. Kelna, the one who had barely spoken the night before, was sitting at a control panel, eyes flicking over data in quiet focus. Each woman moved with a strange mix of grace and purpose. They weren't servants, not really. They were something else, trained, disciplined, yet not unkind. Sarava sat on a raised platform near a massive window overlooking the city. She wasn't in her gown anymore. Instead, she wore a simple robe the color of storm clouds, her hair braided tightly down her back. She looked tired. "You slept little," she said without looking at him. "Not exactly a vacation," Rowan replied, leaning against a pillar. "Still trying to wrap my head around the whole ownership thing." "You do not own us," she said firmly. "You protect us. That is the Nareen way." He looked at her, eyebrows raised. "And what if I don't want that role?" "Then you insult the law. And by insulting the law you shame me, and if I am shamed..." She paused. "Orlis will make his move." That name again. Rowan had heard it whispered the night before. "Who is Orlis?" "A prefect, hungry for status. He wanted to claim my house through marriage or less noble means. Now that you have defeated Valor, you stand in his way." "Great," Rowan muttered. "So I didn't just win a fight. I stepped into a political nightmare." Sarava turned to him, her face serious. "Yes, and he will not stop. Especially not while the core is still in my possession." Rowan frowned. "The core?" She hesitated, then spoke carefully. "An heirloom. Very old. Very important. And it responds to bloodlines." "Let me guess," Rowan said. "Now it might respond to me, too." Sarava didn't answer, but her silence said enough. Rowan ran a hand through his hair. Okay. Let's say I don't want to protect, own, or inherit anything. Let's say I just want to finish my delivery and go home. You would leave us behind? Sarava asked, her voice quiet. Rowan looked at her. Not with judgment, but with honesty. I don't want to put people in danger because of me. She stood then and walked over to him. The danger is already here. You didn't bring it. You just happened to survive long enough to face it. He didn't have a response for that. That evening, they moved out of the estate. Sarava insisted they leave before Orlis could act. They took shelter in a hidden inn near the edge of the trading district. The innkeeper, a retired human soldier named Neven, owed Rowan a favor. He gave them rooms and swore to keep their presence quiet. For the first time in days, they had a moment of peace. Rowan sat in the common room with a mug of something sweet and smoky. Across from him, Kelna quietly joined him. You're not like I expected, she said, watching the flickering light from the fireplace. Yeah? What were you expecting? A conqueror, she said. Someone proud, cruel. But you care. Rowan took a long sip. I'm just a guy who delivers parts for a living, not a warlord. Kelna smiled faintly. And yet you hold the fate of a noble house. He chuckled. Life's weird like that. From upstairs, Mev's voice called out. Someone had tampered with the ship. Again. Rowan set down his mug, suddenly alert. We're being watched. Kelna nodded. Orlis is moving faster than we thought. As Rowan rushed upstairs, the others already gathering their few belongings, a single thought raced through his mind. I came here for a delivery. Now I've got 6 lives in my hands, an angry prefect on my trail, and a mysterious glowing relic tied to my name. Whatever this was, it wasn't just tradition anymore. It was war. The workshop smelled like dust, metal, and stress. Rowan crouched beneath the control console of his ship, the Sundiver, sweat beading on his forehead as he tried to repair the damage to the navigation system. Sparks flew when he connected 2 circuits, and a curse slipped from his lips. The ship had been tampered with more than once now. Someone didn't just want him delayed, they wanted him stuck on Thalicia permanently. Behind him, Kelna passed, him a spanner. Careful, she said, her voice calm. That panel runs close to the power regulator. One wrong move and the whole ship could fry. Rowan grunted. Thanks. Next time I'll just let the aliens blow it up properly. Kelna almost smiled, and for a brief second, the tension between them lightened. They had been working side by side for hours, and in that time Rowan had come to rely on her quiet focus. Of all the handmaidens, she spoke the least but saw the most. And lately, she'd been watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read, something between caution and care. The others were spread across the old storeroom they had turned into a temporary base. Sarava sat in the corner, staring at an object wrapped in velvet. The ether core. Rowan had only seen glimpses of it before, a glowing cube the color of ocean light, pulsing gently like it had a heartbeat of its own. Sarava finally spoke. We need to talk about the core. Rowan straightened up, wiping grease off his hands. I figured we might. It's not every day an artifact starts glowing when I walk into a room. Sarava unwrapped the core, letting its light fill the space. The handmaidens turned to look, their faces touched by the pale blue glow. This artifact has been in my family for over 200 years, she said softly. It holds memories, energy, power. Some say it is alive in a way we don't understand. It bonds to those it deems worthy, Rowan frowned. And now it's bonded to me? We don't know, she admitted. But since you defeated Valor, it reacts to your presence, and to mine. That has never happened before. Lyra stepped forward. We felt it too, the connection. It's like something is reaching between all of us. Rowan rubbed his temples. Great. So I'm mentally connected to a glowing alien rock and 6 women who barely know me. It's not just the artifact, Mev said gently. It amplifies what is already there. Rowan, paused. He looked at them, at Sarava with her proud, guarded eyes, at Kelna, who was watching him again, at the others, who now stood silently, as if waiting for something. He didn't know what to say. He hadn't chosen any of this. But somehow, it had chosen him. Before the moment could stretch further, a sharp knock rang from the steel door. Tyra moved quickly, her hand on the weapon strapped to her thigh. Rowan motioned for silence and opened the door just a crack. Niven, the old innkeeper, stood there breathless. "They've found you," he said. "Orlus's men. They're at the docks, locking down every ship, yours included." Rowan's jaw clenched. "He's trying to trap us." "Worse," Niven said, lowering his voice. "Word is he's planning to declare you a thief of cultural property. He wants the core, he'll take it, and Sarava, with force if he has to." The room fell silent. Sarava closed the core gently. "We have to go, now." Rowan turned to her. "How? The Sundiver's not flight ready, and we can't outrun a planetary lockdown in a half-broken freighter." Tyra stepped forward. "We don't outrun. We go around." They all looked at her. "There's a hidden route beneath the city. Old escape tunnels from the war. They lead to the outskirts where we could find an old launch pad. If we can get there, we might find transport." Rowan nodded slowly. "Worth a shot, but we move fast. Orlus won't wait." They packed in silence. The weight of the moment hung over them, fear, uncertainty, and something else too. As Sarava handed him the core, her fingers brushed his. She didn't pull away. "You didn't ask for this," she said quietly. "But you haven't run. That means something." "I'm not a hero," Rowan replied. "I'm just tired of people trying to own each other." She studied him. "Then perhaps you are exactly what Thalicia needs." That night they slipped out under the stars. The tunnels were damp and dark, filled with old symbols and whispers of war. As they moved, Rowan stayed close to Sarava, watching the path ahead, while she held the core wrapped in cloth. The others followed silently, their footsteps soft. They were halfway to the exit when the core pulsed again. A ripple of light spread out and Rowan stumbled. For a second he felt everything. Sarava's fear, Kelna's calm resolve, Mev's quiet hope. It was like their hearts had brushed against his. He gasped. Sarava grabbed his hand. "You felt it, didn't you?" He nodded. "What is it?" "It's the core. It's no longer just bonded to one of us. It's bonded to all of us." As the light faded, they kept moving. But Rowan's thoughts spun wildly. The bond had changed. This was no longer about law or accident. Something much deeper was forming. Something real. And someone out there would do anything to tear it apart. The night was silent but tense as Rowan and the others reached the edge of the old launch pad. Wind swept across the crumbling metal, carrying the distant sound of patrols. In the darkness beyond, the ruins of old Thalishan towers stood like sleeping giants, long forgotten by the living. Rowan crouched behind a support beam, checking the perimeter while Sarava and the others waited just behind him. The ether core pulsed faintly in her arms like it was aware of what was coming. Kelna tapped him on the shoulder. "We have less than 15 minutes before Orlus's forces sweep this area. We need to find a way out now." "There," Rowan whispered, pointing to the far end of the launch pad. An old shuttle sat hidden behind rusted scaffolding, its hull battered but mostly intact. That might still fly. Tyra stepped forward, scanning with her handheld device. "It's powered down but structurally sound. I can get it running. Barely." "Barely is all we need," Rowan said. "Get started. I'll cover you." As Tyra and Lyra rushed to the shuttle, Sarava came up beside him. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were full of worry. "If Orlus gets here first, he'll try to take the core. Or worse, he'll take us." "Let him try," Rowan replied, placing a hand on the sword at his hip. "I've had enough of being pushed around." But the core pulsed again, stronger this time, and everyone paused. The light grew brighter, swirling like mist. Rowan looked down at Sarava. Her skin had gone pale blue and sweat glistened on her brow. "Are you all right?" She nodded slowly, but her voice shook. The core. It's doing something to me. I can feel it, like it's pulling energy from me. Kelna approached quickly. She's connected to it too deeply. If we don't move now, it could overwhelm her. Rowan turned back to the shuttle. How much longer? Tyra shouted over the wind. 5 minutes. Maybe. That was when the alarms blared. From the far end of the platform, floodlights lit up the night. Dozens of soldiers poured from armored carriers, weapons drawn, surrounding the area. And at their center was Orlis, draped in ceremonial robes and flanked by guards. His eyes were locked on Sarava. You've run far enough, Orlis called out, voice echoing. That artifact belongs to the people of Thalicia. Hand it over and I'll be merciful. Rowan stepped in front of Sarava, blade drawn. You want it? Come take it. Orlis sneered. Then I challenge you, outsider. By our laws, if I defeat you, the core is mine. Sarava grabbed Rowan's arm. Don't. You're hurt. I've fought worse, he said gently. And this time, I know what I'm fighting for. The circle cleared, and the two men stepped into it. Orlis drew a curved blade that shimmered with electric energy. Rowan held his sword tighter, feeling the weight of everything, the lives behind him, the strange pulse in his chest, the silent bond that had formed between them all. The duel was faster, deadlier than the one with Valor. Orlis was a trained fighter, cruel and precise. He struck with fury, and Rowan barely dodged the blows. Pain flared as a shallow cut opened across his side. But Rowan didn't back down. He moved with purpose. Every block and step driven by something, more than instinct. The ether core pulsed in time with his breath. Then came the opening. Orlis lunged, overconfident. Rowan sidestepped, pivoted, and drove the hilt of his sword into Orlis's chest, knocking him back. Before the prefect could recover, Rowan placed the blade at his throat. It's over, Rowan said, breathless but steady. You lost, Orlis hissed, but his men didn't move. The duel was sacred law. It had been witnessed. The outcome was final. Rowan turned to Sarava, who stood tall despite her exhaustion. Let's go. They boarded the shuttle as Tyra powered up the engines. The old machine groaned but lifted off the ground just as the sun began to rise. Below, Orlis stared in fury as the ship rose higher and higher into the sky, disappearing into the morning light. Inside the cockpit, Sarava slumped into a seat. Rowan knelt beside her. It's over. We're safe. She looked at him, tears in her eyes. There's more. The core, it's changed me. I can feel something growing. Rowan's heart skipped. What do you mean? Kelna stepped forward, her voice soft. It's not just a bond, Rowan. The core chose you both. It's begun a new life. He stared at Sarava in shock. She nodded. I'm carrying your child. For a moment, the room was silent. The hum of the ship, the only sound. Then Rowan reached out and took her hand. Then we're not just escaping, he said. We're starting something new. 6 months later, on Earth. Rowan stood outside a quiet home, nestled near the edge of a forest. Inside, Sarava rocked, a small child wrapped in soft blue blankets while the others laughed gently nearby. The baby's skin was sky blue, her hair dark like her father's. They named her Lyra, after a star in a song, and she became a symbol of what was possible when people didn't follow the old ways but made their own path. Rowan looked up at the stars and smiled. He had come to Thalicia for a simple delivery. He left with a new family, a future he never expected, and a heartbeat that would echo across both worlds for generations.